Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, your host, Maury Yelvington of More Transform Your Reality, where I help women overcome trauma and step into their power. I am so happy to have with me today the beautiful Izabela. Hi, Izabela.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm so happy that you're here with me today to have this conversation about moms transforming from super busy life into stay-at-home mom and maintaining an awesome relationship. So let's dive in. How about you share a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Sure. So my name is Izabela Handzel Kulikowski. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. We're already so energetic together. So I am a mom of three, and I was always working in the corporate world. About 3 years ago, I went ahead and I switched to having a cake business from home, as well as showing and helping women. We do have some men, but women mostly work with me, monetize two things that they already own, which are social media and their phone online. And I help them do this around their family and around their health with the time that they have, right? So we don't want to go ahead and sacrifice family life for business. You should be working your business around your life, not the other way around. So that's a little bit about me. And do you want me to get into how I balance it, or the balance word, right?
So I'm wondering, okay, so first of all, maybe just talk about the transition from a big corporate job to being a stay-at-home mom. Like, how did that show up in your relationship? Like, how is that manifesting in a relationship?
Okay, sure. So I have been working since I was 15. My parents used to still sign permission slips for me to go to work, right? That was back in the day. Who remembers that? But when I started working and I got pregnant, we had the talk, right? What am I going to do next? And because my corporate job required me to travel, I was traveling about 2 hours each way, an hour and a half to 2 hours each way. It was just no longer feasible for me to go back to work. Now, I went back to work after my first child was born, but then I, was supposed to work from home, but never got that approved. So I became a stay-at-home mom, and I became lucky, as some people call it, right? So here's the thing about being lucky. It is so much work. Nobody gives you a heads up saying, hey, you're actually going to work twice as hard as you're working at your job and have absolutely no time and absolutely no time to go to the bathroom alone, to sleep all night, right? My kids are, how old are my kids? My kids are 4, 6, and 8. And I could probably count on my hand the amount of nights I have slept a complete night, right? And I'm sure 3 of them, they were like at a sleepover or something. So it's hard. Being a stay-at-home mom is hard, but you know what? Being a working mom is hard, and being a working at home mom is hard because you are still expected. There's society puts this expectation on you where hey, listen, you're a mom. So you automatically have to clean, you have to cook, you have to look good. As my friend Bryn says, you have to keep your offspring alive and then drop it like it's hot on request, right? Since this is the podcast, drop it like it's hot. And then still coupon and budget, and don't go, crazy with your shopping, and still, make sure that you are, exercising and teaching your children, and then have time to read, and then wake up happy the next morning, right? That's what society gives us as a stay-at-home mom, working mom, any kind of mom. That's what we're expected, because that's what we see. We don't see that people have teams working for them if they're super successful. We don't see the journey that it took them 30 years to get there, right? We just see what's on social media, and then we start to compare. Oh my gosh, if she's doing it, why can't I do it? And then you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out. And the hardest thing for me being a stay-at-home mom was the complaining factor, right? Like anytime you complained or wanted to even talk about something going wrong, you would get but you're so lucky, or you shouldn't be complaining because, your husband makes enough for you to stay home. It was a decision you guys made. Yes, but it was also a decision we made because with our both of our incomes, we would pay more for daycare than we would if I wasn't working, right? So a lot of people make that decision to become a stay-at-home mom, not because they love it, which yes, there are some people that do that. And yes, there are a lot of people that learn to love it. But some people just have no choice because they would actually be paying more for their daycare
Gotcha.
than they would for, working. So does it make sense? You learn to love all that stuff, but that was a hard transition. And you learn to deal with it kind of. So not necessarily in a good way. You kind of become a little more lonelier. You complain less. You pretend like you're super happy and everything is perfect, because if you don't, people say things like, oh my God, why this? Why that? So it was, to say the least, it became a lonely journey, sort of, right? So you're happy with your kids, but that's all you are required to do. Like, you are on your phone. Why aren't you taking care of your kids? You're a stay-at-home mom. Want 5 minutes alone. Why do you want 5 minutes alone? You're at home all day. Why don't you have 5 minutes for yourself? So it's sort of like you want the best, but because you want the best, you lose what is the best, right? I don't know if that makes any sense, but you lose yourself. You feel like you don't belong. You're not part of the family because everybody else is more important. Your needs are sort of least important. So you start treating yourself that way. You start treating yourself like, I don't need to get my nails done, or I don't need that Amazon, whatever, shopping. You know what? My kids don't like this, so I don't need to buy what my favorite meal is, right? And all of a sudden, you kind of just become a mom, which I think a lot of us deal with, right? We're just a mom. And we start acting like just a mom. All I am is just a mom. All you do is ask me, right? We become angry and a little anxious, and we wake up sad. We wake up, oh, just another day. I can't wait for today to be over. When are the kids going to school? So that happens. And then my favorite, oh, my husband isn't helping me. Does he not know that I'm not stressed? How can he expect me to do all this? Like, why did he complain that the house isn't clean? Why is he coming home from work and not helping me? These are his kids too. This is my favorite one. I used to say that all the time.
Yep.
So it's a hard transition. And I think that we have to realize that nobody else is going to fix it but ourselves. And that's kind of like a burn, right? You burn yourself a little bit. It hurts when you hear it, because you've sort of been expecting all of these other people to make you feel better. You want your kids to appreciate you. You want your husband to appreciate you. But when it doesn't come, then what? So if it's because of you, right? If it's because you said, oh, I don't need this, they're not going to give it to you, right? You decide that it can be because of you. And if you're the problem, you're also the solution, right? So that's the main thing. That's what I have on that topic. And I could go on and on and on, but I don't know if anyone here wants to listen for 4 hours. Maybe you do. So maybe you do.
Well, I'm wondering more like, how does it affect your relationship with your husband, right? Because you said like there's so much throwing blame, right, at the other person. You're so lucky you get to go to work and you can go to the bathroom and nobody bothers you, right? Like you can go to lunch and actually eat a warm lunch and nobody bothers you. Like you can actually eat your food, right? Like I just take out my lunch and all my kids want to eat my lunch, right? It's like this thing. So there's a lot of I would say we kind of blame them. There's a lot of blame that we are the ones stuck at home, right? And I remember that back in the day when me and my husband made the decision for me to stay home, he said, well, it makes sense because you're feeding your baby, right? Like you're literally in charge of feeding her. Like I can't give her, like you can pump and I can feed whatever, but it makes more sense for you to be with her because you literally have the boob to feed her.
Exactly.
And so I was like, okay, that has a point. But like we were talking earlier, it's like my personality, your personality, we're these fiery women and we're not just a stay-at-home mom. And so being a stay-at-home mom, but also trying to find yourself in the midst of that and not losing who you are in the midst of that, right? And really finding the balance between how can I maintain a healthy, loving relationship with my husband, right? Because in a way, my kids watch and see constantly everything I do and everything I say and the way I talk, right? And then, and as you know, they backfire real quick, right? The
Oh
one
yeah.
time you said that one word, oh, they learned that. But the whole time that you were kind and loving and nurturing, no, only that one time you said that bad word, right? That they'll repeat it. But so what I really want to know is like, what did you do, or what tools that you used, or what really helped you guys maintain that relationship and the intimacy in the relationship without letting it go sideways? Or maybe if it did go sideways for a few years because of all the energies, emotions, like how did you bring it back?
Yeah.
Like
So a lot of,
you can
so
give people.
because I work online, I feel like that's one of the things that like started um before I didn't work online. So I feel like that was more me just blaming. And then when I started working online, I started getting more into self-development, right? And what is that? It just means learning how to find happiness from within, learning how you can create your own solutions, right, to
Yeah.
different problems, like kids being angry in the morning. What do you do about that? So it doesn't affect your day, so on and so forth. But I think that because I am also in the social media space, this is my phone, right? Let's pretend I am working. This is what my husband saw. And until you're making the bigger bucks, it doesn't seem like you're working. And then you get
Right.
stuck in the scroll hole, right? Where you're looking at other people's stuff. So you're not really being intentional with your time. And honestly, it's about communication. Like I have a mentor, Ray Higdon, that always said, if your husband is being super angry and like you're blaming them for everything, start praising them. And to me, that was like, so how, that's an oxymoron. How do you praise somebody that's not helping you at all, or that's too busy, or like not around to help you, right? Even though our husbands are working and they're gone, we're still blaming them, saying like, oh my gosh, you should have come home earlier today, so on and so forth. But it really works. So I want to encourage anybody listening to this podcast, if you have somebody that you wish would help you with the kids, or help your kids take showers, or do things of that sort, first of all, if you are a mom, ask your kids what's important to them, right? Because my daughter loves for me to read to her. My son, he wants to just like ride an ATV and play with dad. So make sure that you work those things into the relationship with your kids. And that way you sort of have like, hey, you heard him. He said he loves to do this with you. Like, it's your turn to spend time with him, because now you have to do this because he wants you to do it, right? It's important to him. So make sure you ask your kids what's important, like what activities mom should do, what activities dad should do, and try to work those into your schedule. Now, with my husband, not only did that praising like go super great, because like, at the beginning, you're like cooking dinner and you're like, oh, thank you so much for eating the dinner. And you're like, why am I thanking somebody after I slaved away at this stove for eating my dinner? But then eventually he's going to be like, oh my God, this dinner's really good. And then, a week or two later, you know what? I'm going to do the dishes, right? And like, we don't realize, we think that men are so tough, they don't need praise. But it's because we don't praise them. We just expect things from them, just like they expect things from us. So then after doing that, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't think we're really communicating. I think I'm just like talking or screaming at him, and he's just talking and screaming at him, but we're not actually communicating. So
Yeah.
I started being very specific with my communications. Like, hey, I have a meeting today, or I'm going to the dentist. I need you to like put this in a pot and put the burner on, right? Because they'd be like, oh, just make dinner. Like, they don't really know what that means if they're not doing it every day, right? And that's okay. Sometimes, hot dogs or whatever you're making is fine. Your kids will be like, oh my God, we got the good meal today. We don't have to eat our vegetables. So there are definitely great moments for that, but just be very specific. Don't say, hey, I need you to do laundry. Say, I would love you to go downstairs and take the laundry out of the washer and put it in the dryer, or take it out of the dryer and fold it, right? Because that's exactly what they're going to do. Like our minds as women, we already are thinking about the next thing, and we're always overthinking situations because our husband isn't talking to us. For the longest time, I would say to my husband, are you okay? Like, you seem mad. And he's like, why? Like, I'm fine. And I would ask him again, and he'd like get mad because he's like, you asked me 4 times, everything is fine. I'm like, I don't know, you just seem like you don't want to talk, whatever. And there he is, just like trying to like think of how to fix a part on his motorcycle. You know what I mean? It's like completely, we overthink it, and we sort of kick ourselves in the foot because we're like, I need you to take out the garbage. And then if he doesn't do it in 2 seconds, fine, I'm going to go take out the garbage right now. And then we slam we slam everything to make sure that they know we're mad. And it's like, just give him a minute or 2 or 3, and then maybe ask again, right? Like, I want you to take the garbage out now. I started doing that with my kids also, and it's helped a ton. Like, I need you to come eat dinner. And then they'll be like, whatever. And I'm like, no, I need you to come eat dinner right now. And it's, it went from screaming at everybody, nobody's eating dinner, everybody's eating cold dinner, to like, hey, okay, they finally came. So like really evaluate your communication as to like kindergartners could understand. And I don't want to say that like everybody is like this, but if something isn't working for you, just definitely try it, and maybe it will totally benefit you, because it has been, like I said, we were communicating, but we were talking at each other. We weren't actually talking with each other. It was kind of, I'm assuming this, and then I'm telling you to this, but then he's like, why is she telling me to do this? We don't ask, we just tell. So that would be a tool that may help you. And then I want to mention this in relationships also, because especially in the social media space, as we know, beautiful kitchens, beautiful couples, jealousy. There's a lot of jealousy. And my husband isn't a jealous type. I'm not a jealous type, but I do see it a lot. And I want to say, we've been taught that jealousy is bad, right? Oh, you can't be jealous. This is bad. Guilty. No. And I want you to think about jealousy in a completely different way. I want you to think about jealousy in like, hey, I get jealous about the things that I want and don't have. I don't get jealous about things that mean nothing to me. So why am I getting jealous? Am I jealous because, she has all of these things and I don't? Or am I jealous because they seem so happy? Like, we don't list out, we want to be happy, but we don't know what that entitles for our relationship. Like, list out, I want to be happy. What does happy mean? Do you want your husband to massage your feet every day? Does your husband want you to actually give him 5 minutes of peace when he comes back from work? Like, list out how that looks for your family, because we think it's stupid and we think we all have to be together. We have to be a family. We have to find balance. But when one thing is in balance, another thing is out of balance. And you need to figure out how to create not balance, but just something that works for your relationship, for your kids, for your business. You can use this for anything. So realize what happy means, what joy means, what your sex life means, like, and communicate it, because a lot of times we are unhappy and we are overwhelmed because we don't really know what it is that we want.
Yep. And so now that you're using these tools, has it transformed your sex life? Do you think it's adding, changing? Has it shifted?
Yeah, I think every single aspect of my life has been, I'm going to say the word joy, because I feel like happiness is very dependent on the factors, right? You're happy one day, then you're sad when something happens. But when you have true joy, you actually appreciate anything that makes you, excited, that makes you, I'm happy to see my husband when he comes home from work. I'm happy to spend time with my kids. It's not like I'm happy to go to sleep at night with my husband. It's not like before, when it was like, oh my gosh, they're finally in bed and I could finally get a minute to myself. It's just finding that joy in everything, and that's sex life included, right? Like, you need to know what you like and what you want, and you need to know what they like and what they want. And then it's about compromise, right? You got to compromise there, what works.
it's interesting because I'm listening to you talking like access consciousness, like the mantra of access is all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And it talks
Hmm.
about all of life, you know, even the hard parts, the sad parts, still, if they can come for you with ease and joy and glory, you can really maintain anything. And when you were talking about jealousy, I was like, to me, jealousy is almost inspiring in a way because I can just look at somebody and be like, wow, it's so amazing that they're at that point. Like, what would it take for me to be at that point? You know, and so it's
Hmm.
almost like energy shopping. Like, yes, I would have that, please. Like, I would love to have that, right? What would it take for me to have that amazing organized house? Because that's not me, right?
Oh,
Or,
I know.
you know, or whatever that is, instead of having a negative connotation, if you could just switch it to inspiration, what would that feel like? It would open so much more space in your world. And I love what you said about appreciating and praising because we are so critical of ourselves and judge ourselves and never praise ourselves. And our husbands are almost a mirror to that. But what also is a mirror
Hmm.
to that is our kids. And they're there and they're seeing that and they're acknowledging that. And so the more you can praise you, the more you have space to praise others. And the more you're grateful for you, the more you can be grateful for them. And I was exactly the same boat, you know, like my husband would come home and I was so like irritated from the day, you know, like the end of the day and dealing with screaming children. And no matter what you do, it's not good enough and they're not happy and whatever. And for him to come home and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're home, right? But still have that like, and just shifting that to, I am so happy that you're home right now. Like I'm just so happy that you're here with me to share this with me instead of like, oh, I can't believe that you were off all day, right? And now you're coming in, you know. So it's so true and it's so powerful to just change that perspective, to change that point of view, to empower somebody else. It really comes back to
And
us.
and you know what? Now that you were saying this, I also want to mention that like sometimes we talk about like, oh, they're never going to understand our day, or like, oh, I don't even mention it because I don't want them to get upset. But maybe just start off like that. Be like, you're probably not going to understand anything that happened, but I just want to vent to you for 5 minutes. Like after that, I'm just going to close the book and we're going to pretend it didn't happen, but I just need to tell somebody because my mind is going to explode, or you know what I mean? So like, don't expect them to understand everything because they won't,
Right.
but you can start off by saying, hey, I know you won't understand, but I just need you. Like, all I need for you is just to listen to me for 5 minutes without interrupting, without giving me your commentary, without doing anything. And then I will be a changed human, right? So, once again, like, tell them what you need. Don't just, throw things and expect things to change, because sometimes when our marriages get bad, or when our business or our finances, usually they don't get bad. They get bad, 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 worse, worse, right? And we get shown things just like patience. If we ask for patience, we get a lot of opportunities to be patient. We don't just, hey, come on, patience, come on over, right? We get more opportunities to learn that patience. And it's the same thing with our relationship. Our relationship didn't just get bad overnight. It got
Right.
bad, and something happened, and then worse and worse. And you have to realize that it didn't get bad over time. It's not going to get great over like the next 2 days. But if it's something that you broke, it's something that you can fix, right? So,
Yeah,
and
I love
I mean like relationship. I don't mean like, hey, it's all your fault. I mean like, if you obviously fell in love and got married for a reason, or with your partner, so find out why and maybe spark that, bring that back to your relationship. So
I actually love that. And we could do a whole podcast about, you know, what are things that you can do to bring up the spark? Because I feel like there's so much.
well, I'm listening more. You guys
I
send
will
me
share
the
with you
link
my
to that one.
secrets. They're really good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, my dear. So thank you so much for being with me today. Now, if anybody wants to find you on social media, where can they go?
Sure. So I'm both on Facebook and on Instagram, same tag, which is Izabela Kulikowski. It's Kulikowski. Handzel, Handzel. I'm going to go ahead and give you a whole mouthful there. So you can find me
And we'll
also on
share some links
TikTok. Not as
because you
active on
have,
TikTok. there.
I was saying, like, and we'll share your link so people can find you and your amazing products and what you offer and your magic. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm so honored. I had so much fun, and I will see you again. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.